What's up, everybody? Paco here, and marriage is awesome. It's also really hard and really confusing at times, but today we're sitting down with Chuck Moore. Chuck has been married for 42 years. He's a marriage coach, and he's gonna give us some expert advice on how to do marriage and do it well. For married couples, the conversation of sex, right? Sometimes, you know, certain seasons of marriage, sex is fantastic. Our sex life is great. There's other seasons where we're just not on the same page, and, you know, my needs and her needs are different, and one person needs this, the other person needs that, and it feels like there's a lot of maybe rejection going on, like you're never in the mood, I'm never in the mood, that kind of thing. How does a married couple have a great sex life over the long haul, like a consistently great sex life in marriage?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think at the heart of it comes the reality that a lot of couples give up on sex. So you hear things like the best sex you have is actually before the wedding, which unfortunately, probably for some today is true. So yeah, I love it, the heart of that question, because I do believe that sex is a gift for the long haul. And it's given for the purposes of even standing above the pressures of career, kids, whatever's happening in your life. It's linked to it. It's linked to, you know, the honesty and vulnerability, but it's designed so that you can enjoy each other without having to be on a Caribbean beach, without having to be at a suite at a hotel, all of which could be helpful. But two people can just engage in this incredible sense of being intimate. But it's so easy to lose it, and it's so difficult to really figure out what really sex is and what the purpose of sex is. And it was something that I knew nothing about early on. I thought I did, but I knew nothing about early on in my marriage, and I was terrible at it.
It's built through reps.
Yes.
It's built through understanding each other. That is a process. That doesn't happen one night. That doesn't happen on night two. That happens over the course of time.
Right, and it happens with conversations, care for one another, having those conversations, even if you don't want to. And it's in not giving up. What's critical, there's so much about marriage, which is turn to each other, don't turn away. And in America today, between pornography, between self-actualization in so many ways, between people in the workplace, there's so many opportunities to turn away from each other in marriage, and especially in the area of sex.
Yeah. Great. Let me ask you about this.
Sure.
A lot of newlyweds or people walking into marriage, right, in the engagement phase or whatever, have this idea of what sex is going to look like in their marriage. You know, honeymoon night, especially if people have waited, you know, before till marriage to have intercourse with each other, right? So they have this like idea in their head of like, this is what it's gonna be. Kenny G is gonna be playing, there's candles and fruit and all these things going on, right? And then you get there and it's like, well, 15 seconds later, this thing is kind of over and we're all both.
15 seconds could be twice what some guys can do.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
Well, I mean, that happens. And then you're like, well, I guess we did it wrong. What do you say to that couple?
I would say be talking about your experiences, your needs in a loving way. And there are some great books on sexual intimacy. And I really believe you can't do marriage alone, for sure, that you need as many resources as you can. And I encourage you to go, I mean, it's a perfect book to read together. And this gets, most of these great books also get into sexual pasts, sexual experiences, which I believe it's important to, you don't have to do every detail, but it's important to talk about what happened to you and where you've been. Because at the core of our marriage, my wife and I have healed each other dramatically in the area of sexual intimacy. We can't heal each other unless we know where the wounds are. But knowing where her wounds are has been incredibly helpful for me and has helped me love her so much more. And likewise for her. So yes, get a book, find some people that you can engage in and to have honest questions. We've talked to most of our kids about actually their sexual experiences with their spouses, and it's a good thing.
Yeah. How awkward is that initially with you and your kids?
Probably the first time it can be awkward, but very quickly in the context of this is an important part of marriage, and it's part of what we want to do long term. It's just part of caring for each other.
Yeah, and it benefits them in the long run.
It does.
With their marriage. Good.
And as our eldest daughter once said, what I love about talking about this with you is you're still doing it. Of which I say thank you.
You still got it. That's right.
Whatever that is, apparently it's still working.
That's really encouraging to hear, because what I hear you saying is that the arguments or the disagreements about sex are not just disagreements about sex, they're actually disagreements about where we are with intimacy and where we're knowing each other in an intimate way.
Yes, so I think the most important thing I had to come to realize is I didn't know. I thought I knew. I didn't know. It was okay not to actually know, but I had to have a deep desire to learn about my wife and what her desires were and how to serve her in sex and how to be intimate with her. I knew nothing about how to be intimate with her in so many ways, and the sexual experience together just showed that to be dramatically true. And so I had to be willing not to know, to ask, to have the conversations, to learn, and the best part was to experiment and to find out what was true.
It's the most fun part.
That can be the most fun part. And that's the spirit with which to go at this. Most couples just descend immediately into despair, assume the other person is not interested, and then give up.
Yeah. So if I want a great sex life with my spouse, I need to be pursuing intimacy.
Yes, and be, therefore, talking about and experimenting with how to be intimate.
Great.
Cool.